viewers, listeners, this is me live now, but we're going into clips from the vault, and we've dipped into the vault around 2020, 2021, and we've got some great clips here for you, featuring the British Bulldog's daughter, Georgia Smith. What a great chat I had with her about her father's legacy, and obviously he went into the Hall of Fame as well more recently. We've also got the Virtuosa, Deonna Purrazzo, two-time knockout women's champion and one-time tag champion at Impact as well. She's got many other accolades as well, a fantastic wrestler. And we will dip into the vault as I had NBC Young Rocks, the Iron Sheik, who is Brett Azar. He plays the Iron Sheik on the show. And finally, on this Clips from the Vault, will be former WCW and WWE talent from the world-famous Putski family in wrestling, Scott Putski, who I had a great chat with about 2 years ago now. So here we go, without further ado. The first clip is with the British Bulldog's daughter, Georgia Smith. Enjoy.
Just to scoot forward a bit, at the European title, obviously they had the tournament, and then him and Owen in Germany in 1997. Yeah. Incredible match. Another one that stands out for me.
Yeah, that's another one of my favorites too. I always because I think when I watched that match, I think there was a big time delay or something. But that match what they brought to that match that night was so good. Yeah, that match was amazing. I'm gonna actually maybe watch that when I get off this because I maybe post because it was
so much.
Didn't get the credit as well, but it was so good.
It was just, and then obviously going into late '97, then we come to One Night Only in Birmingham against Shawn Michaels, and I thought there was going to be a riot after that when Michaels went over that night. I watched it on telly. I didn't go to Birmingham, but I just remember I thought there was going to be a riot in Birmingham that night. You know, when your dad lost that.
There was so much garbage thrown. That was not good. I think it could have been handled a lot better than that. And I know, my dad it didn't really bother him, but he made out I got paid the same. It was whatever. But I think deep down it did hurt him, and it did bother him. Because I just, his sister that had terminal cancer was there, and it was just why did you do that? Why was that necessary? But I mean, how they handled it, I don't really agree with that. But yeah, I don't like watching that match. I don't like watching that one at all. I don't like watching it.
I brought up a bad one there.
No. You made a very good point. I was just looking back, I think I've maybe acknowledged or touched on that match once, and the whole time I've ran my dad's stuff, I'm just because it just makes me really, really sad. And I think my dad, he was just I think he was pretty much checked out after that happened. So
I don't think, thinking about it, I don't think Michaels needed the belt, because two months later, I know, and the circumstances were terrible. Brett is my favourite of all time, hands down. The Montreal screw job. I don't think Michaels needed the European title, because 2 months down the line, he was getting the world title anyway. I know under bad circumstances and Brett was screwed, but yeah, to me, it didn't make any sense your dad losing the belt.
No, I didn't really understand that either, but I guess they figured, Brett's leaving and Davey's going to leave, and this is how we're going to handle it. So it's whatever, but personally didn't.
What did you think about his return to WWF, WWE when he came back in '99? Did you see anything fondly from that time when he came back?
Yeah, it was a bit bittersweet because, Owen was the one that got that wheel and those wheels in motion. He got that going because my dad had been in the hospital at that time with his back injury, and he's he was in there for I don't know how many months, and he was just really low. And Owen was like, "Hey, I remember Owen would come see my dad all the time. I remember Mick Foley coming by." Those were the two main, in WWF at the time that would come by. I think China even came by. But yeah, Owen was like, well, how about you come back and we can be a tag team, and I think it would be a really good idea, like when you get out of here. And Owen was like, what I'm doing right now, like, I'm kind of like more of a comedic role, but I'm just getting like my paycheck, and I'm not really taking things too seriously, and I'm just kind of going with the flow of things. And I think if you come back, we can have fun. My dad was like, okay. So he called Vince on the hospital phone and got that going. And my dad got, he got the contract signed and everything. And then unfortunately that happened with Owen, that devastating, horrible incident. And, my dad, it was just a whole, legal mess with everything and my family. And, my dad was, he went back, and a lot of people I shouldn't say a lot of people, but a few people in my family weren't happy about that. But, at the end of the day, my dad and Owen had made an agreement, and, he had a family to feed. So he did that. And, my dad, that's all he knew. And my dad, like, it was a horrific accident. But in any case, he went back, and, we saw what happened. He was debuted on SmackDown, and he interrupted Al Snow's and Big Boss Man's match. And it was a really exciting time. It was just bittersweet because, like, Owen wasn't there and that whole situation. And so it was like, I just feel like with my dad, he felt like it wasn't the same when he had gone back because he was by himself. He didn't have Owen. And
The fantastic Georgia Smith there, the daughter of the British Bulldog. That was episode 70. It's mad to think I'm nearly on episode 140. I was like halfway to where I am today. A great guest. She was so nice. I asked her so much stuff. But that was just a little insight. If you want to see the full episode of that, go check out episode 70 on Stu's Wrestling Podcast across all the podcast apps and YouTube. Type in Georgia Smith, Stu's Wrestling Podcast, you should be able to find it. And moving on, we have the former two-time Impact Knockouts Women's Champion, the Virtuosa Deonna Purrazzo, who I had on earlier last year. Here we go.
My guest today on Stu's Wrestling Podcast, all the way from the good old US of A, it is the two-time Impact Knockouts champion, the Virtuosa Deonna Purrazzo, and it is pay-per-view week, and you have not got a named opponent. So I'm asking you, hypothetically, who is the opponent for this match, Deonna?
Oh gosh, I honestly don't have any idea. I've been asking Twitter, give me hints. Who do you think it is? And there are so many possibilities. I mean, Tommy Dreamer even put his name in the hat to be like, I can put on a wig. So I don't know.
You could have a kendo stick match with Tommy.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you think it's someone outside of Impact? Because you faced everybody who's anybody in the Knockouts division. So I'm thinking,
Right.
Are we going to see someone from NWA? Are we going to see someone from AEW? We know the links there.
Yeah. Gosh, I feel like it has to be. I feel like it has to be, someone who was released and their 90 days will be up. I feel like it could be someone from AEW, NWA, Ring of Honor, AAA. We have all these connections to all these places, and they keep saying our world's changing again. So I don't know, but I do agree that I've already lapped the competition in the Impact Knockouts division. So it's time for someone else.
Do you want to throw some names at me?
Gosh, Chelsea Green is my best friend. If she's free, I'd love to see her at Impact. Britt Baker, same thing. We keep teasing some people. We'd love a dream match. So if she steps through that forbidden door, that would be awesome. I'd love to be the AEW Women's Champion. The Iconics will be free. So whether it's Cassie or Jess, I don't know. I don't care. Anyone, I don't know. It could be anyone. I keep asking. Any competitor, any company, any generation. So it could be someone like Mickie James. It could be Awesome Kong. It could be Taylor Wilde coming back.
The fantastic Deonna Purrazzo there. And yeah, fantastic. I would love to have Deonna back on the show at some point. It's great getting the ladies on who are so prevalent in the business today. And moving on, it is NBC Young Rock's Brett Azar, who plays the Iron Sheik and plays it very, very well. Here we go, Brett Azar.
ado, my guest, the star of NBC's Young Rock. He played the Iron Sheik so perfectly. It is movie star, actor, Hollywood star, Brett Azar. Enjoy. My guest, all the way from New Jersey, by way of Iran, if he does his character from NBC's Young Rock, it is Brett Azar, who played the Iron Sheik in Young Rock. Can I just say how amazing and how perfect you did the Sheik? Incredible. It was like looking into a mirror, verbally and, seeing you physically. So, yeah, thank you ever so much for coming on Stu's Wrestling Podcast today.
Thank you. The Sheik, thank you, Baba. I love you, Baba.
How was it? How were you approached to do NBC's Young Rock?
Completely randomly. We were in quarantine. It was the middle of last summer, so everything in America was shut down. There was no acting whatsoever. I wasn't leaving the house unless it was to the grocery store. I built a gym in my backyard. And again, we weren't doing anything or going anywhere, so I had no plans for anything. And I looked at my fiance. I was like, I've never shaved my head before. Can I shave my head? She's like, yeah, let's see what that looks like. So I shaved my head. We both look in the mirror, and I'm like, yeah, that's not a good look. And I was like, all right, I'm going to grow my hair back. Don't worry. And 3 days later, I got the call to audition for Young Rock. And they told me it was for the Iron Sheik. And I was like, wait a minute. I shaved my head before I got this audition for a reason. There's got to be a good reason for it. I already looked the part. And then I had a 5 o'clock shadow, and they were like, can you grow a mustache out? And I was like, I'm Lebanese. That mustache will be here in a week. But I did the first audition, and I did the second audition, and they really wanted to hammer in if I could do the voice. But I was doing like the promo voice, like, I'll break your back, I'll make you humble, crush you, put you in camel clutch. And they were like, all right, but can you do like the toned down, like behind the scenes Sheik? And I was like, okay. So I went and watched documentaries every day and YouTubed every day for an hour. Like every time I did my cardio, I was just watching documentaries on the Sheik. And then it was, come over here. Yes, come to Papa Sheik. It was all higher register. It was soft. It wasn't, you jabroni punk. It wasn't that. So, and apparently they liked what they heard. So they gave me the job and flew me out to Australia and say la vie.
The fantastic Brett Azar there. What a great guest he was. And if you've not seen Young Rock yet, I implore you to do so. In the UK, we've got season 2. So now season 3 is now on in America on NBC. UK, we will get it very, very soon. What a lovely, lovely guy. He's also starred in Young Terminator with Arnold. He's got a great relationship with Arnold Schwarzenegger. But last but not least, from the famous Putski wrestling family, should I say, it is former WCW, WWE talent, Mr. Scott Putski, our final guest on SWP Clips from the Vault.
Office.
How long were you there for, Scott, in total?
Probably three and a half, 4 years.
What were some of your favorite matches down there?
Man, I worked with Eddie Guerrero. I worked with Jericho. Everybody. There was a lot of people out there that I got to, there was us younger guys, man. Could you see what was coming with them guys earlier in their careers when you were down there? Yeah.
Where they were going to go?
It was just a matter of Hogan and them, Bischoff giving them a shot. I mean, it was like there was 100 guys like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for every guy that did make it, there was 2 other guys that were just as good and just as talented. They just didn't get their shot.
I used to love the cruiserweight matches, man. But they always opened the show.
Yeah, but the thing is they started bringing in a lot of the luchadors and stuff. But once Rey Mysterio and Juventud worked together, you couldn't follow it. I mean, when those guys had a match, once they hooked up and got into their zone, there was no way to even follow it. Even with the big guy match, if you had Hogan and Goldberg, you couldn't even follow it because the shit they did was so incredible.
What were your thoughts on Goldberg with the streak and all that sort of stuff?
I mean, it is what it is. I knew Bill. Actually, I played football. Goldberg was at Georgia when I was at TCU. He was a couple years older. But, yeah, we played against each other in college. Bill's a good guy, man. I love Bill. I mean, I respect him. And, you know, good for him, you know. You know, good for him. You know, I hadn't talked to him in a while. But when I was there, I mean, I don't have anything negative to say about him.
That's cool, man. Yeah, well, he's back. He's back on WWE TV. He's coming.
Oh, really?
He's coming. He's taking on the Scottish or Pride of UK Drew McIntyre for the title.
Really?
Yeah, man. Goldberg and Drew at the Rumble this weekend. So yeah, Drew's come back and he looks $1 million, but he's had no fans in the stadiums. So fingers crossed, man.
They can't. I mean, they can't. They got to do something to him.
Just like they reckon 25,000 people at Mania this year in Tampa. So we'll see. We'll see, man.
So they can't even see in Mania. They can't even fill it up, right?
They're basically because of COVID. They're just working on like a third of capacity, I think, so they can get some fans in. A bit like the NFL, where they've had like at Green Bay, where they had the fans in and stuff. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting, Scott, if nothing else, man.